Welcome, everybody. It's Tuesday, January 23rd. John Aravosis here with the Aravosis Report, coming to you live from Washington, D.C. Talk about the latest news from Ukraine. How are we doing, as always, today, folks? Hope you're all well. I will get TikTok rolling here on my iPad. Ukraine war update, go live. That should do it. Hello. Interesting election news tonight, too, with the primary in America. We're going to start talking about that. And then we'll segue over to Ukraine. There we go. Hey, Jens. So where are you guys hailing from, as always? Give a quick little shout out where you're from, if you would. Hey, TikTokers. Ryan, CJ, Ryan again. Big Hawk trying to creep me out, but unsuccessful. Oop. By the way, there's a new iPhone update that everyone should get. It has a privacy protection thing in case your phone gets stolen, which is very creepy. And one of the nasty things that happens, people get their phone stolen, and then the people who steal it make you give them the number, the code, and then steal money from your bank accounts. Anyway, it's a very cool new setting. I'm going to mention it at the end again too. But there's a new iPhone update that everybody should get. That there's a new setting. Basically, if someone steals your phone, it's much harder for them to go and change your password and all that stuff. So check it out. Thank you, Elizabeth, for the gift. Street Rat, Colorado, 45 degrees. That's pretty good. DC today is 45, but later this week we're getting to the upper 60s, which is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So I'm very happy about that. Anyway, how are folks doing otherwise? We'll maybe wait a half a minute, and then we're going to get rolling on the news here. Thank you, Crazy American. And Mark. But yeah, good amount of news today. We'll start with Ukraine. We'll start with New Hampshire, the American elections, and then we will move to Ukraine. A lot of news on both. No, we don't know yet kind of who's winning in New Hampshire. But, I'll get rolling. What the hell? I'll get rolling. I might as well get started. I sort of hate dragging it out for the folks who get here on time. It's like school. You get her on time. I hate starting late for you guys. Thank you, Tick, for the gift on TikTok. So I am John Aravosis. This is my show, the Aravosis Report. Thank you, Joe. And this is a show I do Monday to Friday, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, U.S., where we talk about the latest news from Ukraine. Also talk about national security stuff overall. It just kind of depends. The American elections becoming a bigger topic, but that's understandable, right? Because there's so much news going on with that. Kind of hard to be from the U.S. and cover news and not cover the elections. Thank you, Marcy. But we'll start with Ukraine. We'll start with the elections, excuse me. Now, the way things work generally with my news is I go through and using my background in politics, foreign policy, journalism, law, I go through and try to pick the stories that I think matter and then kind of walk you guys through them. So we'll start with the New Hampshire election. Just remember, folks, thank you, Life, for the gift there. Speaking of which, I very much appreciate your guys' gifts. Thank you, Allie. I do this for free. I've been doing it full time since the war broke out in Ukraine 2 years ago, almost exactly 2 years ago now. And your gifts help me pay the bills and help make it possible for me to do this. No one's paying me otherwise. I am, my salary is through you guys. So please do support me if you can with gifts, with memberships as well. You can sign up to become a TikTok member, a YouTube member. The mods can help you figure that out for a basically monthly contributor. Thank you, Fred. But the gifts are also very helpful, so please keep them coming. All right, let's start with the New Hampshire. So today is the New Hampshire primaries in America. Thank you, C3. The important vote happening today is Trump, Nikki Haley, who will get the Republican nod to be their presidential candidate this year. Trump clearly has the lead coming into all of this with all of the polls. The polls are not, we don't know the results yet in New Hampshire. I'm not sure what time we will know. Does anybody recall what time? I mean, I can ask on Twitter. Thank you, Christine, for the gift there. What time we sort of get the results? I don't know whether it's like a 7 or 8 o'clock or what it is in New Hampshire. 7 o'clock, Crystal's saying? 7 o'clock Eastern? Okay, 7 o'clock Eastern. So pretty much towards the end of our show, we may start hearing something. But what they do have is the exit polls. And exit polls are basically polls that they do of people as they're walking out of the polling booth. And rather than asking them, who you voted for, because they try not to do that anymore because there have been some really big mistakes. Thank you, Bryce, on that. They ask them about issues they care about, things like that. So we're talking about the New Hampshire primary today really quick before we get into Ukraine, and what the results of the exit polls were for the Republican voters that are voting in New Hampshire today. Oh, thank you, Dark Phoenix, for the autumn leaves, and Ava as well for the heart. So here were the exit poll results in New Hampshire, Republican voters. Of the people who voted today, 49% were registered Republicans, 47% were registered undeclared. So they were not registered as Republicans or Democrats. 3% were unregistered at all before today. Now, that's interesting because a registered Republican you'd think is more likely potentially to be voting for Trump. Registered undeclared might mean a little more likely to vote for Nikki Haley, his opponent, because she's kind of putting herself out there as the anti-Trump in a very personal way now, saying, he'd be bad for the country, blah, 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 this kind of stuff, right? Voting stops at 8, Bob is saying. Okay, so we're not going to find out for a while then. Yep. So the fact that it's 50-50 is some good news for Nikki Haley. 49% to 49%, the Republican electorate is split. And any of that kind of spam, just block out people. Mods, anybody who jumps in with like other unrelated issues like that, just ban them. If we were talking about the issue, I'd be fine with it, but I don't like people who come and spam other forums. Not cool. And that crowd's been doing that a lot. So just block that person, please. Thank you, Succeed. Actually, I'm going to do it because then I can have a goat. There we go. No, I don't like people who come and just kind of the Greek goat screams whenever we block a troll on TikTok or YouTube. We don't get him as much on YouTube. But 49-49. New Hampshire electorate, Republican electorate is split on whether Biden won the election. 49% think Biden won the election. 49% think Biden didn't win the election. That's crazy. Biden did win the election. Literally nobody thinks Biden didn't win the election who's got half a brain. Thank you, Adventures. There's no proof, zero proof that Biden didn't win the election. 61 court cases Trump tried to stop Biden from getting the election, claiming he actually won. 61 courts, including Republican courts, including the Supreme Court that Trump appointed, turned him down and said you didn't win the election. Okay, but they're still split 50-50. That's crazy. Some more exit polls from New Hampshire. 32% identify as MAGA, Trump's movement. 64% do not. That's very interesting. Thank you, Mustard. Keep in mind, the people voting today are in the Republican primary. The fact that only 32% of people in the Republican primary identify as MAGA is actually very interesting, and potentially very good for Nikki Haley, since she is trying to be sort of the anti-MAGA, at least on the conservative Republican side. In terms of issues they consider most important, number one issue is the economy, 34% of voters today. Immigration, 31%. Foreign policy, 17%. And abortion, 11%. So for Republican voters, abortion is not that high up. Foreign policy, but the big issues are the economy and immigration. But this gets interesting too, okay? In terms of the economy, the people who voted today, 70% said the economy is not so good or poor. Now, that is untrue. The American economy is doing ridiculously well. Inflation was a problem a year ago, and I will say prices have remained poor, unfortunately, which is really annoying. Prices are up, and the idiot companies to gouge us have left them up. I was looking at some of the sort of favorite, like some of the frozen meals I used to buy. They're up to $7 now. I'm not going to pay, like that Annie's or whatever it's called. I used to buy the frozen stuff. It's $7. I'm not paying $7. I literally don't buy it anymore. So some of that stuff is not good. Inflation was a problem. And of course, once prices go up, they never come down. So that's a problem. Other than that, the economy is soaring. Growth is bigger than it's been in decades, almost 5% economic growth. I mean, ridiculous. Inflation is now down. But again, it went up and it's not coming back down. But what I mean is the prices came up and won't come back down. But inflation itself is now under control. Unemployment is at the lowest level in decades. They can't even find people. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. It drives me nuts that literally 70% of the Republican voters in New Hampshire today said the economy is not so good or poor. And again, for anybody living outside of America, our GDP growth is at 4.9%. Our unemployment is under 4%, okay? I mean, that's what these guys consider not good. We can't find people to take jobs. They can't find people to work in restaurants. They can't find people to work in stores over Christmas time, like jewelry stores and other stores over Christmas that hire extra employees. They can't find them because our economy is doing so well, these people are able to get jobs somewhere else. But it is unfortunately been created as a lie out there that the U.S. economy isn't doing well. And you will literally see people go, that's not true. And when you ask them, they don't have any actual story, any actual fact to back it up. And my favorite part is, and there was a poll the other day I talked about, thank you, Pedro, the other day, saying that people actually think they're doing okay. Their salary is better than it's been. They're convinced if they lose their job, like 70% or something of Americans, if they lose their job, they'll get another one that's probably paying even more. But somebody else they know isn't doing well. It's all this BS. No, it really drives me crazy because we've become a nation of lies. We've become a nation where of not just lies, but of really stupid people who it's very easy to lie to. Thank you. Who's that? Farge? I'm not sure. Or I hope maybe it's Fart. Sending me the heart. Thank you for that. But we have made clear that if you lie to us, we will believe you. And sadly, a lot of people are getting lied to, and a lot of people are believing it. And it comes to the Trump thing. It comes to claiming that Trump won the election. All this stuff. And frankly, like I said, the condition of the economy. Total lies. Total lies. The economy is doing great, and it's in their interest to say it's not doing great. Although Trump did this too. I mean, Trump did it too. Trump talked about, the economy was so bad under Obama. The economy did amazingly. The economy actually grew more under Obama than it did under Trump. Thank you, Bruford. Again, independent fact, go look it up. Trump lowered the unemployment rate by 1 point. 1 point. That's good. It's good. From again, if you're European listening to this, you're going to say this is crazy, right? Trump lowered the unemployment rate from 4.9% to 3.9%, which is great. 4.9%, the Europeans would die for, right? But in any case, I diverge. Okay, we're talking about the exit polls from New Hampshire. Immigration. Listen to this on immigration. This was fascinating, though. On immigration, which is the number 2 issue New Hampshire voters, Republican voters cared about. Only 51% think immigrants who are here illegally should be deported. Only 51% of Republican voters in New Hampshire think immigrants who are here illegally should be deported. The rest of them, again, I don't know if it's 49%, it was a little bit less, think we should be trying to find a way to keep them here and offer them citizenship. I mean, shocking, absolutely shocking how that basically on an issue the Republicans have been trying to really make a lot of hay over, immigration, and very angrily talking about the immigrants, 50% of New Hampshire voters are okay with the people who are here illegally. They want to basically figure out a way to keep them here, give them citizenship, et cetera. That's shocking. That's absolutely shocking in a good way. And finally, listen to this. Listen to this. National abortion ban. Republicans have been, now that it is legal to ban abortion in America. One thing I think that's very confusing for non-Americans, but also I think for a lot of Americans, they may not have understood exactly what happened. The Supreme Court, Trump appointed several new justices. They struck down Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade guaranteed the right to an abortion in America. But by striking it down, it didn't outlaw abortion. It made it legal for local governments to outlaw abortion. It made it legal for the federal government to outlaw abortion. When Roe v. Wade existed, the Supreme Court said with Roe v. Wade, very short, the simple explanation of Roe v. Wade was the Supreme Court said, Congress and state legislatures, you cannot ban abortion. This is what Roe v. Wade says. You might be able to restrict it in some ways, right? What month you can get an abortion in, what month you can't, things like that. But you cannot ban abortion. And it gave much more detail. So by getting rid of Roe v. Wade, Republicans got rid of a court decision that said you cannot ban abortion. It did not ban abortion per se. Do other people have sound? I see one person doesn't have sound, but I'm suspecting they need to leave and come back. Okay, that's what I thought. Right? So what Republicans did is they got rid of the protection for abortion, and then they went state by state and banned it. And now they've banned it in a number of states, okay? Well, the big push among Republicans now is to have a nationwide abortion ban, to basically ban abortion 100% in America. Very popular among Republican politicians in Congress. Trump, I don't know where Trump is on it. Does anybody remember where Trump is on the nationwide abortion ban? Trump, of course, couldn't care less. He grabbed onto abortion because he thinks it's a winning issue for him. Listen to what New Hampshire voters said about their views on a nationwide abortion ban. And again, these are not New Hampshire voters. These are New Hampshire voters who voted in the Republican primary today. 27% favor a nationwide abortion ban. 67% oppose. How's that for crazy? How's that for crazy? Only 27% favor a nationwide abortion ban of Republicans in New Hampshire. 67% oppose. I mean, that's amazing to me. And I suspect that is, like a lot of people do, that's going to be sort of the hidden issue come elections in the fall, is abortion. We've seen with every election, really, after Roe v. Wade was struck down, every election has ended up being like, these are sort of smaller elections, right? Has been a surprise where Democrats have done far better than expected and Republicans did far worse. And every single time they said it was because of abortion, that basically people are flipped out. What remains to be seen is, are people flipped out? I will say this. You don't see people, shutting down the streets over abortion. Thank you, adventurers. You don't see them shutting down universities. You don't see them shutting down college classes to protect women. I just kind of want to put that out there because it always drives me a little crazy when people sort of are willing to take their pet issue that's kind of fringe and go, I'm sorry, the Palestinian thing, whatever your view is on it, for it to be the #1 issue that Americans are willing to protest on and no other issue is insane. That for a year now, you've had the possibility to defend women on abortion and you didn't want to. All of these liberals who are protesting about Palestine didn't give a damn to protest about defending women's reproductive freedom. Not a damn, okay? LGBT rights and what the Republicans are doing on there, nobody cared. Trans rights, nobody cares. Donald Trump comes into office, guess what he's doing to trans people? Guess what he's doing to gay people? Guess what he's doing to the climate? Nobody cares. But we should try to get rid of Joe Biden because, like every other president in American history, Joe Biden is pro-Israel, and you knew that when you elected him because every American president and every serious American president candidate is pro-Israel. That's just the way it is in this country. Thank you, Courtney. But because Joe Biden's pro-Israel, this fringe group is going to try to hurt his presidency and hurt him from getting reelected. So we can get the guy elected instead who hates me, he hates you, he hates Latinos, he hates Muslims, by the way. He loves Israel 100 times more than Joe Biden does, and he's going to screw women on abortion. He's going to ban abortion nationwide. He's going to screw the climate. He's going to screw gay people. He's going to screw blacks, screw Mexicans. It just pisses me off because this is the reality of the far left today in America. I would say the left today in America because, honestly, hell, I had some people that left our forum because I disagreed with them on Gaza. I wasn't angry enough to Israel. I didn't see them speaking out about abortion. I didn't see them getting in a huff about women's right to choose, right? It just pisses me off because I think, again, I've been a political activist since the early 1990s. National, among my other hats I wear, journalist, lawyer, everything else, I've been a political activist. And it has always pissed me off to see how people will kind of pick their pet issue, often kind of fringe, and get upset about, and they won't help you on anything else. And this is a perfect, but in this case, they're literally talking about hurting us. And again, any of you who are pro-Palestine, that's fine. That's fine. I don't care. Because I think Israel very well may have committed some war crimes. So, you have every right to be upset. But for anybody, and we got on a tangent here, but I don't care because we're talking about the election. For anybody who claims to be pro-Palestinian, who thinks they're going to try to hurt Biden's reelection, which a lot of the pro-Palestinian people are doing in the U.S., claiming they're going to hurt Biden's reelection, You are literally going to get the guy elected who hates Palestinians, who hates Muslims, who is going to screw over Gaza 100 times worse than Biden did, and who is going to screw me as a gay man. He's going to screw you as a woman. And climate is out the window if Joe Biden loses. Donald Trump's going to destroy the climate. Black people, every single issue you claim to care about, no, not the Palestinian groups, I got news for you. Talk to some of the Arab American groups about how they actually care about these issues. Just talk to them. This actually pissed me off from a few weeks ago. I know I'm on a rant that's totally irrelevant, but I don't care. I went like a couple months ago and checked out the website of CAIR, C-A-I-R. It's a group I've given money to before. It's the big Islamic, Muslim, Arab American civil rights group, okay? I say all because it depends, right? Some Muslims aren't Arabs, right? Some Arabs aren't Muslims. So it's the Arab, Muslim, American civil rights group. I go and check out their website, and I Google gay and trans and LGBT to see what's on there. To see, they're our big partner now, right? Right? They're our sister movement, guys. They're our brothers, the Palestinians. So where are they on the issues? The only time that gay and trans and LGBT came up on the lead Muslim advocacy group in America, thank you, Devin, was they were agreeing with the religious right on the religious rights programs in schools to basically block teachers from discussing gay topics and trans topics, which basically Ron DeSantis, they were agreeing with Ron DeSantis's programs in schools is what the Muslim groups were doing. I mean, CAIR is the Muslim group. They are the top civil rights group for Muslims in America and Arabs in America. I mean, and again, that doesn't mean you don't defend them because we're not like them. I'm not like CAIR and Muslim Americans. I'm going to defend everybody if they deserve defending. But it just, like I said, that we're going to throw out Joe Biden and get Donald Trump and screw every other issue in America, whatever. Anyway, this got me going because of the abortion thing, talking about New Hampshire. That's what got me going on this. It just pisses me off. Anyway, Ukraine. All right, let's switch to Ukraine. Sip of water. We'll go to Ukraine. Lots of news in Ukraine today, too. It's day 698 of Vladimir Putin's special 3-day military operation in Ukraine. The Turkish parliament today, thank you, Red, for the hat. The Turkish parliament today did approve Sweden joining NATO. That's a big deal. Don't expect Sweden to join NATO anytime soon. And I mean, I kind of knew this was going to happen because now the Hungarians are playing games. So Turkish parliament approves Sweden joining NATO. As you probably know, every NATO country has to approve of a country joining NATO. The idea is, news is itching again. The idea is that once you join NATO, thank you, Marcy, everybody agrees to defend each other. And you can't just have somebody new come and join without everyone agreeing because, right? I mean, I'm America. If I don't get to vote on you joining Sweden, then I'm supposed to put my nuclear umbrella to protect you, but I didn't even get to vote on you joining, right? So it has to be unanimous. Two holdouts were Hungary and Turkey. Turkey was holding out, they claim, because they were worried about these terrorists and all this kind of stuff. Maybe they were. I think the Turks were holding out because they wanted American F-16s. And basically the Turks looked at it like any other negotiation. They just said, what can we get out of this? So the Turks have held it out for a year now and dragged it out. Finally, the Turkish parliament voted today. The Turks can still drag it out, okay? The Turks can still drag it out. They can not file the papers with the U.S. Erdogan, the president of Turkey, has to actually sign the papers that the legislature passed. Then they have to send it to the U.S. Congress. He could just sit, not the U.S. Congress, the U.S. State Department. He can just sit on it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is Hungary. Hungary has still not approved Sweden joining NATO. They're the last country. Hungary promised us months ago, repeatedly, we will not be the last country to ratify Sweden. We will not be the last country. Well, guess what? They are the last country. They lied. Big surprise about that. The Hungarian parliament doesn't even come back until the end of February. There are no plans for them to discuss this, none whatsoever. Orban, who's the wannabe dictator of Hungary. Thank you, Patty, for the hedgehogs. The Koopa bearers or whatever, happy bearers, right. The Hungarian leader, who's a wannabe dictator. He's a friend of Putin. He's anti-Ukraine. Basically, from my tastes, he's an old school he may not be a communist. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. But he's an old school communist dictator of the Eastern European variety. He looks it and he acts like it. He would fit in perfectly. Thank you, Martin, for that. Absolutely fit in perfectly with that. Well, he's pro-Putin. He's anti-Ukraine. So what's he doing? Rather than announce, well, I promised we wouldn't be the last one to approve. Of course, he now is the last one to approve. Rather than saying, oh, as soon as our parliament comes back, we'll approve Sweden joining NATO. Thank you, Marie. He says today, he sends a letter to the Swedes and says, will you send someone to my country so we can begin negotiations over approving your admission to NATO? And the Swedish foreign minister responded publicly and said, negotiating what? There's nothing to negotiate, right? You've raised no concerns. It's been a year and a half, guys. In a year and a half, you've raised no concerns, and now you want to negotiate? What do you want to negotiate? Which I'm actually, thank you, Tiger Pup. I'm really glad the Swedes did that they didn't go, oh, okay. The Hungarians are being, again, typical wannabe communist self. It sickens me. And the real problem is now that Slovakia has elected the same thing, a pro-Putin wannabe communist dictator, to be the prime minister in that country, he's declared he's going to defend Hungary, so that if the European Union tries to punish Hungary, he'll defend them, because it's got to be unanimous, right? If they punish Hungary, if they take away their voting rights, he's not gonna let them. It's a freaking mess. I mean, really ticks me off. Just really ticks me off. So anyway, so that's what's up. So Turkey has approved Sweden joining NATO. Erdogan needs to send it to the State Department. We hope he will. But the parliament isn't even back in session till the end of February. So it's not going anywhere. Honestly, the Europeans and NATO need to just come down so freaking hard. So freaking hard on I'm sick. I am sick of the Hungarians. I mean, and we ought to tell the Hungarians the same thing we probably should have told the Turks, which is, you want to be part of Russia? Go for it. I mean, the Brits, the Brexit, we weren't so thrilled about. Thank you, Christine. But Hungary wants to leave? Go for it. Go for it. Because seriously, Hungary leaving the European Union and Hungary leaving NATO, I would take Sweden any day over Hungary for NATO. Oh, please. What's Hungary going to do anyway? All Hungary's going to do, listen to this, Slovakia. So Slovakia, that elected a pro-Putin prime minister. I was reading today that NATO intelligence is basically not sharing information with them now. There's a lot of information we won't share with Slovakia now because of their creepy ties with the Russians. I mean, I just feel like if these guys want to go that direction, you know what? And I've raised this point before. I've always said, and Madeleine Albright used to have a quote. She was my sort of professor and advisor at Georgetown. But Madeleine used to say, she was U.S. Secretary of State, very famous woman, died recently. Madeleine used to say, there's a special place in hell for women who don't support other women. That was her famous quote. And I've always believed there's a special place in hell for basically people who are victims of civil rights abuses who don't defend others who are victims of civil rights abuses, right? So it would be, minorities in America who don't defend other minorities, right? You're gay and you care about gay civil rights, but you don't care about racism. Or you're black and you care about racism, but you don't care about anti-Semitism, right? Or whatever. But you should care about it because it affects you personally. You're just as bad. It's just as bad for you to not get it, right? And in this case, I'm trying to think. Wait, where was I going with the Hungarians? For Hungary and Slovakia, two former Soviet satellites, to not get how bad the Russians are. Thank you, Joe. Right? To not defend a country being invaded by Russia. To literally suck up to Putin is disgusting I mean, historically, it's disgusting. It's clearly not due to ignorance. The Slovakians and the Hungarians are not ignorant about who Russia is. They're not ignorant about it. They're not ignorant about what it means when a Russian invades your country. They know perfectly well because it happened to them. And they're willing to defend it happening to someone else only 30 years after they broke free. Thank you, Jonathan. To me, that says a lot about Hungarians and a lot about Slovakians that I don't like. It just, really sick. It does. It just kind of sickens me. But in any case. All right, more. There were some really bad attacks on Ukrainian civilians by Russia in the last day. Ukrainian military is reporting that Russia launched 41 cruise missiles overnight, and Ukrainian air defenses only destroyed 21 of them. So half of the cruise missiles got through, which is very bad. Thank you, Critter, for the gift. Please keep the gifts coming, guys, on TikTok and YouTube. Reportedly, 19 people were killed, 19 civilians, in Russia's rocket attacks. In the Kharkiv region, 15 people were killed, including an 8-year-old girl and her mother. Vlad had contacted me about it because what did he say exactly? Hold on, I'm going to look this up. I don't want to sort of get this wrong because Vlad reached out to me because one of the folks that we'd been working with, one of the military guys who was helping us with deliver the goods to the children. When we raised money, when we bought the gifts at Christmas time for the kids in the hospice in Ukraine, and one of the guys who helped us, Vlad said, oh yeah, he's the father. It's all over the news now about an 8-year-old girl dying and her mother. The father was a volunteer who was working with who had helped the charity that we raised money for. He was actually there. He was there delivering the children's gifts to the hospice when we bought the children's gifts for him. That might have been Christmas of the year before when we did this. I think it might have been Christmas of the year before when we did that. I think so. I'm already forgetting which year was which. So very sad. But yeah, lots of civilians died. Listen to this. So after the Russian missile attack on Kyiv today, Kyiv was attacked as well, the capital. The Slovakian premier said, and this is again, the guy who's pro-Putin, who's just elected, said, there is no war, an absolutely normal life in the Ukrainian. There is no war in the Ukrainian capital. Life is totally normal there. A journalist asked him on the eve of his visit to Uzhhorod, which is in southwestern Ukraine, it's where Vlad is living now, asked him if it would be appropriate for him to go to Kyiv because, they're in the middle of a war. And he said, there is a conflict in Ukraine that is localized, right? There's no war in Kyiv. It's just a local conflict in Ukraine, a local conflict. That's all it is. And then he said, do you seriously think there is a war in Kyiv? Are you joking? I hope you are not serious. Go there and you will see that the city has a normal life, absolutely normal life. I mean, sure, people in Kyiv, just like people in London, right, and people in Britain during the Nazi bombing of them have tried to carry on, right, and not cower in fear, but to suggest they're not getting bombed and they're not at war and they're not suffering consequences? This guy's a pig. I mean, the guy's anyway, like I said, he's the pro-Russian Slovakian prime minister. I don't know what's up with these countries, to be honest. The New York Times had a story today about Russian military helping North Korea, or North Korea helping the Russians. It's a bad story. I mean, meaning it's a scary story. So listen to this. The Russians are beginning to deploy North Korean arms on the battlefield in Ukraine. Though I'm just reading you from the Times. Though many of the North Korean artillery rounds are proving to be duds, which you guys were talking about this yesterday. A lot of the artillery shells being fired aren't working. Some appear to have been manufactured decades ago. They're giving the Russians something to fire while Ukraine's military rations its own dwindling supply of munitions. It gets worse. But what the U.S., NATO, and European officials worry about are the missiles, not the artillery shells, the missiles. So far, fewer than 50 appear to have been transferred to Russia, but there could be far more to come. So they've only transferred 50 missiles so far, but they worry a lot more are coming. According to an analysis by the Conflict Armament Research, an organization that has documented the arms used in Russia's war in Ukraine, they showed that the North Korean missiles were relatively recent in their design, U.S. officials say they're proving as accurate as Russia's home-built equipment. So the concern is that Russia's new missiles they're getting from North Korea, are just as good as the ones the Russians have, and they're new and they do work. Listen to this finally about artillery shells from the New York Times. Last summer, Ukraine was firing as many as 7,000 artillery shells a day, compared with Russia firing 5,000 a day. Now the Ukrainians are struggling to fire 2,000 rounds a day, while Russia, augmented by North Korean shells, is reaching about 10,000 a day. So Russia's doubled the number of artillery shells it can fire to 10,000 a day, thanks to the North Koreans. Ukraine can only fire 2,000 a day, 1/5 of the amount. That's bad. Now, what does that mean in practice? I was watching something on CNN in the last couple of days on this, and they showed they were embedded with some Ukrainian artillery troops. You know, artillery guns. Artillery guns are the gun that we sponsored. Remember, we raised money that they donated to the military, and they put our slogan, like our name, on the side of the artillery. The artillery. What do you call it? Artillery gun. The CNN the other day showed that these guys, they're given a target, and rather than being able to fire enough shells to hit the target, they can fire like 2 or 3 shells and that's it. And once they fire 2 or 3 shells, they've got to stop because they don't have enough. So that it makes it less likely that they're going to hit their target. Russian seaborne exports of crude oil, oh, this is good. So Russians' exports of crude oil fell to their lowest level in 2 months, hindered by winter storms and the recent Ukrainian attack, the attack on the export facility southwest of St. Petersburg, the one we talked about yesterday. So that's good news. The CIA has released a new video encouraging Russian intelligence employees to cooperate. It was, published under the headline, "Why I Contacted the CIA for the Motherland." Thank you, Jason. I don't know if you meant to ask a question, Jason. If not, thank you for the cute little chipmunk. And is this the last story? I got 2 more stories here. Russia's internet service regulator issued a 50 million ruble fine, or this is not small though, $566,000 fine to television providers and streaming services in Russia for violating regulations on showing LGBT content. So basically gay or trans-related content. And some of the examples they gave were like V for Victory. And I was trying to remember, like, what the hell, for the LGBT stuff, I'm like, what the hell was gay in V for Victory? Because remember the guy, the TV guy who's played by, what's his name, who's a gay actor, he's very good. Thank you, Juan. But the TV announcer guy who's very critical of the regime is gay. That seemed to have been enough to trigger a fine. because he's sympathetically presented as being gay. And in Russia, that's illegal. I mean, again, this country. Finally, speaking of films, the Ukrainian film 20 Days in Mariupol received an Oscar nomination in the Best Documentary category. This is from the Kyiv Independent, I believe. The documentary records the Russian siege of Mariupol. This is a city in southeastern Ukraine. From the perspective of journalist Mstislav Chernov and his crew during the first weeks of the full-scale invasion, 20 Days in Mariupol has become the first Ukrainian film made by a Ukrainian director to receive an Oscar nomination since Ukraine gained independence from the Soviet Union in 1991. So very cool. Now, I've got more of you on now, so I'll tell you again, there's a new iPhone update that you should get. It is apparently has a new setting. If your phone gets stolen, it makes it much harder for people to get in and change your Apple ID, all the kind of stuff they need to do. I just updated before the show because in Washington, for example, when they rob you on the street, DC's horrible crime. When they rob you, they take your phone and immediately make you give them the password, or they use your face or whatever, and then they go in and try to change everything. This will make it so that it makes it much harder for them to screw around with your phone. Or if you just lose it, it makes it much harder. So go check it out. It's a really important update from Apple with the iPhones. Finally, they rob you. This happened to a neighbor of mine. 15 kids robbed a neighbor of mine in my building several months ago. walking back from the gym, weeknight, 10:30 at night, stopped him on the street. 15 kids robbed him. So these kids just went out for a good time to rob people and beat him, took his phone and his wallet, and then made him give them the code to open the phone so they could go and then change everything. And then what they do is they go into the phone and then they try to steal from your bank accounts. Oh, it's lovely. I love this town. It's such a great town. No, I mean, this country has always had crime problems, but Washington is just another thing entirely. Well, Carlos, let's not talk about gun control. I mean, the number of school shootings we've had. I mean, I admit, I'd consider getting a gun because of how dangerous it is here. But generally speaking, the number of mass shootings we have in our country is obscene. Gun people have zero right to lecture anybody else about safety with the number of children that they've gotten killed with their guns. I mean, this is the last country on earth where anybody is responsible enough to own a gun. And we've proven that 10 times over. So seriously, don't you dare get in here and start lecturing the rest of us about guns when you people are responsible for killing God knows how many children. So please, please. I mean, again, I think having a gun in your house, I could potentially see. I'm not necessarily opposed to that. But you people think people should have machine guns to go shoot Bambi, to go shoot birds. And it's the reason why we've got so many children dead now in schools, because you people keep defending the killers and you keep defending the guns. So don't even get started with me on that garbage. No, I mean, I don't necessarily, again, I understand having guns for safety, and I understand having guns like if you live in Alaska for safety, and even if you're in a rural area, you use it for hunting, I can appreciate that. But you don't buy a frickin' machine gun to shoot birds. You people are out of your minds. You're absolutely out of your minds. So, yeah, don't even. In any case, all right, guys, let's talk about the news. All right, let's talk about the news. So, sorry, you're getting blocked. See, you could have disagreed, but you decided to be rude. All right. We just lost someone. Boy, the gun thing is always guaranteed to get them. Also, I mean, you just think at this point, the gun nuts would be embarrassed of themselves. I mean, just like, it's a gun. Kellum and I were talking about this today. It's a gun. It's not a sex toy. Like, seriously. Like, what is the fetish with it? I just don't, I mean, I've used guns. They're fun. They are fun. But it's not a freaking sex toy. It's not your wife. Like, what is it that people treat it like it's cocaine to these people? I shouldn't use these words. That's right on my lives. Sorry, don't want to use those words. Don't want to, TikTok. All right, thank you for the gift there, Christine. Right? But they just literally, my God, it's a freaking piece of metal. Get over it. Thank you, Juan. The framers of the Constitution. It's a piece of metal. We'll buy you a baby blanket if you want something to hold on to. I mean, my God. No, it is about a power. It's a whole creepy thing. Again, for safety in this country, sadly, we have so much crime. I get it for safety. But these guys aren't for safety. You think the idiots that wear them to like Starbucks and they wear the big thing on their back to show how hot they are, you think he's carrying his gun for safety? He's trying to make up for this, guys. I mean, that's nuts. He's got a mental problem. These guys literally have mental problems that walk around with the big guns on their back, Should we put troops in Alaska? No. Oh, I forgot to mention that word slang. Oh, God. So the story I forgot to mention to you today is Russia's crazy former prime minister, Medvedev. You know him, right? We've talked about him. Do I have it here? I want to see if I've got it here. He's the one who is always talking about nuclear war, how he'd love a nuclear war. Well, he tweets today, according to us. Oh, so he tweets today in response to the crazy story yesterday of Putin saying that Russia has certain rights to territories they used to own, and everyone got scared and said, oh my God, does this mean they're going to try to take Alaska? Because we bought Alaska from the Russians back like in the 1800s or whenever it was. And the State Department spokesman got asked about it and said, are we thinking of giving Alaska back to Russia? And he said, certainly not. So Medvedev chimes in and goes, mind you, he's the deputy chair of Russia's Security Council. I mean, he's still a big guy in the Russian government. He's the former head of the government, okay? He says, according to a State Department representative, Russia is not getting back Alaska, which was sold to the U.S. in the 19th century. This is it then, and we've been waiting for it to be returned any day. Now war is unavoidable. You know, he thinks he's being funny. This guy likes to joke about nuclear war all the time. You know, they're idiots. I mean, they really are. I just can't. We're not, you know, bottom line, guys, is we can protect ourselves. Any war breaks out with Russia, with us, they're going to lose. They can't win a conventional war because we'd cream them. And I mean that quite literally. Ask any of the military folks, they'll tell you. We would destroy Russia in a conventional war. And a nuclear war, we'd simply nuke them back and they'd die. I mean, so like, there's no reason for them to use a nuclear war. So all of these threats from Russia is literally, you know, the guy who's smaller than you. Thank you, Lori. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. My live has been age restricted. Oh my God. These people are unbelievable. It may contain themes not suitable for younger audiences. Okay, hold on. I'm hitting the feedback thing and say, what are you talking about? Yeah, absolutely doesn't. Oh, TikTok. Jeez, young audiences. Maybe it is. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, anyway, it's not like the counter thing dropped anyway. Yeah, I know I said United Nations too loud. Oh, boy. Anyway, yeah, TikTok being TikTok. Anyway, all right, so yeah, let's do our, yeah, I know, it might have been that, Jennifer. I don't know, who knows? What else we got? What else we got? What else we got? I know, poor Preston, but they really screwed him over. God knows what that, I mean, we know what that was about. He got reported. He got reported. You know? He got reported. That's what happened to Preston. Man. You know? So, anyway. All right, guys. So what else we got? What else we got? Nothing from Israel. War is going on. Training in Netherlands. Nothing new about the training. Nope. Yeah, it might have been about the eggs toy. So who knows? I mean, there's a story. Actually, I forgot. There is a story today about the Red Sea stuff. One of the U.S.'s top admirals, who is, I believe, in charge of our fleet in the area, in the Mediterranean, in the area there around the Houthis, I'm still trying to pronounce it correctly, said that Iran is directly responsible for the Houthis' attack on commercial shipping. That's very interesting because that is, you know, the Houthis have attacked 34 different times now against commercial shipping, I don't know, do I have my little map in front of me? Not totally in front of me, but going through shipping that comes through the Suez Canal is able to avoid going all the way around Africa. And the Houthis have gone after ships for 34 times now, trying to blow them up. They claim they're doing it on behalf of the Palestinians. They're actually just terrorists. They're shooting any ship they can. Most of the ships have had nothing to do with Israel. I mean, literally nothing to do with Israel. And the top U.S. admiral saying Iran's hand is behind it. They're directly responsible. Iran's been giving them the financing. Iran's been giving them the intelligence they need to do it. I mean, we knew this all along, but it's interesting for a top, thank you, Joe, for the gift. It's interesting for a top admiral to be saying this. I just think it's very interesting. You know, at some point, the Houthis are going to get lucky and it's going to be scary. You know? I mean, I'm just saying, like, they're going to get lucky and they're going to hit and kill some people, and then Iran's going to be paying a price, I think. So we shall see. We shall see. Anyway, yeah, so questions, comments about any of this stuff? Ukraine, the Russians, the Houthis being 18. China, Taiwan, no news about China, Taiwan. I am flying a Taiwanese airline when I go to Bali. That'll be fun. Didn't know they had, I mean, I guess it makes sense they have an airline. Apparently they're pretty good. Serbia, nothing really on Serbia, although I know the Russians have been causing lots going on in a micro level on Serbia. Poland, I mean, Poland's been a great ally. You know, Duda isn't a great friend of democracy, which is really scary, you know? But, you know, open a Cameo? Oh, God, I think I'd be embarrassed opening a Cameo, you know? I would be embarrassed. Like, happy birthday from me. I don't think I'm famous enough to open a Cameo. I mean, I'd love to make more money, but I'm a little afraid it would be too embarrassing doing it. No updates on the F-16s. Yeah, I just feel like that would be a little too much. I mean, I'm happy to make the money, but, you know. Yes, Jonathan, I talked at the beginning about Turkey approving Sweden for NATO. Erdogan still needs to sign the certificate and send it to the State Department. Hopefully he doesn't delay. But Hungary's playing games, you know? I could do courses on activism. The only problem is I would probably hate the people who came. I think today's activists would drive me crazy. I mean, I'd find good ones, but too many people today, I think, don't understand the whole point behind activism. It is true. But again, you look at the Palestinian activists, and they've done a good job raising their issue, but then they've also gone crazy. They then went crazy. You've got a lot of the communist groups and like the fringe socialist groups running their movement now. You've got them shutting down traffic. You've got them, I mean, my God, they tried to shut down airports before Christmas. I mean, that's just stupid, you know? Scientology, cult. What do you mean bringing Russians over? The Scientologists are bringing Russians to LA? Oh my God, what's that about? Oh, they're like, woo, cuckoo. What's that about? Huh. I don't think we're at the start of hitting Iran yet. Not yet. Oh, the auctions. That's true. I didn't mention the auctions. Thank you for that. There's been a huge Scientology protest on TikTok. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, we do have, remember, the auctions tomorrow. The auctions are ending on Discord tomorrow. We've got my favorite part, which is the top part of a Russian periscope from a T-72 tank captured in Ukraine. Very cool. It's glass on the bottom and then a mirror inside, because basically you look through here and it goes up and then out here, so you can see safely outside the tank. But I was showing you, like, I like it, like putting a flag underneath or something like that. I think would be really cool. You know, you can put anything underneath sitting on the desk, but this stuff is really neat. And we've got the really cool cotillion that Larissa made, Wild Hunt Corsetry, which is the neat thing that basically Ukrainians would wear these in the old days. This is a copy of one in the museum in Canada. This is hand beaded. She does these things. But Ukrainian American does all the old stuff by hand. And the Ukrainian troops, a woman would give this to her husband or her boyfriend going to war, and they would hang it on their pocket. And then you'd see the old photos. You see, it's black and white, so you can't tell. You would see these on these guys' lapels. So she made it as a really cool thing that you hang. I think, like I said, I think it would be neat. Thank you, Adventures. I think it would be neat to hang this on even if it's legal, but a rear view window, a rear view mirror in a car would be cool, you know? Anyway, so that's up there too. Lots of other stuff. But all the auctions end tomorrow, so go check them out over at discord.aravosis.com. Oh, and please do keep the gifts coming, guys. Hate to bother you, but Papa's got to pay the bills. So thank you. Yeah, Scientology. Woo! Ooh. That's interesting, looking Native American. I don't know if Larissa's here tonight. That's interesting. It could kind of, I know what you mean though. It does, this one does have a look. I know what you mean. Like, I absolutely could see that. Looking at this and thinking there's almost something a little, because of the way the stripes are here in the colors, especially, to me, suggests Native American. Like, you know what it is? If you take out the Ukrainian thing, I think also kind of the triangle patchwork. Too bad I don't think she's around tonight, because it'd be interesting. She's here very often. It'd be interesting to ask her about that, if she's noticed anything with the patterns being similar like that. That is interesting. Thank you, Sunshine. Thank you, Sunshine. And Lori for the TikTok gift. Oops. What else? Is that being slow again? I think it is being slow. I think the chat program, yeah, see the chat thing that I've got, hang on a second, where is this? There it is. Sorry, the chat thing had, shoot. It was set to top chat, not live chat, so I was missing a bunch of your guys' comments. All right, back now. Thank you, Proper Mike, and no breaks for the gifts. Oh boy. I see your name, but I'm afraid to say it. Shaje? Shaye? Or Shaje? I don't know. S-H-A-J-J-E. I'm afraid to pronounce it. Thank you, Jeff. So what else? Thank you, Dutch. Oh, good to see you. Remember to let me know when you're going back to Ukraine. Thank you, Corey. Sunshine. Albanian in Sweden. So is it Shaja? I'm going to guess it's Shaja. Something like that, or probably not even close. My grandmother spoke Albanian because we're Arvanitica she spoke. But it's not a real name. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's very, and I still want to go up there. At some point, I'm going to go to Albania to like discover that side, because we're pretty convinced we know we're from near Albania, one realm of the family, a pretty famous clan. So I'm hoping to find somebody that knows Albanian Greek history that we can talk to find out more, because it goes back to it's 1700s, so it's not recent. But I'm dying to find somebody who's a scholar up there that I can talk to. Oh, we've done all the ancestry stuff. The problem is Greece. It's not English, you know? The English stuff is you guys can find anything in English. But in Greek, there's not a lot. The Mormons, yeah, I know the Mormons. Fortunately, the Mormons, I think, have not tried to convert all the Greeks yet. But I have gotten what I can online, which is how we've been able to, check some stuff. But the problem is, like, the names change, because people also, I think, weren't very literate. So the way they write the name changes every couple decades. It's just a very difficult thing, you know? Your cousins are Mormons? Yeah, as well. Not a big fan of baptizing dead people of other religions without permission, but you know. Northeastern Poland, 50 to 60 kilometers from the border with Belarus. Wow. That's got to be fun. See any Belarusian helicopters lately? I'm trying to think. That is the area is that not where the helicopters came over? Oh, yes. The Mormons baptize dead people from other religions without their permission. Yes. That is why the Mormons have such a deep genealogy database, because they collect all the names of the dead people from around the world to convert them to Mormonism. Google it. Not kidding. They did it to Obama's. I discovered the story that they did it to Obama's mother and gave it to ABC News, that then reported it. Yeah. Crazy stuff. They no longer do it without permission. I hope that's true. Weird stuff. Yeah. I think it's rude. Yeah. Anyway. I care. I think it's incredibly rude. Are you kidding? Who cares? You're going to defile the memory of my family by taking them and converting them to your religion? That's disgusting. No, who cares? Are you serious? I care. Clearly I care. Yeah, rude would be an understatement. It's literally defiling a dead body. It's like, I don't think so. Especially if you're even vaguely religious. Somebody's going to come and like magically convert you from your faith? It's like, it's incredibly obnoxious. Yeah, please. Exactly. I think a lot of us care, understandably so. In any case, do you get your own planet? I don't know if you get your own planet, though. Not sure about that. If foreigners get their own planet, no. In any case. So, whatever. We know it's Albanian. It's Albanian. It's at least close to Albania. I mean, because we're from Sulima. Well, we're from Sulima in the south, but we're from Suli in the north, which, the Ali Pasha destroyed in like 1800 or whatever it was. But that's where we're from. And, all those people probably came from across the border in Albania, we think, but we're still, Anyway, my plan is to go to Albania, try to find, with my Google Translator, and see what we can find out. It's total clan of warriors. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. We were mercenaries. I mean, even my family that came down to southern Greece were mercenaries in the revolution. So that's the thing. And my grandmother and her parents spoke Arvanitica. They spoke Albanian, or this dialect of Albanian. So yeah. strong ties to Albania. So anyway, all right, enough of the spicy stuff today and enough of the Mormons. No more Mormon stuff. What else, guys? Anything else? Your city at one point was the stop for the Polish helicopters. That's what I thought. Yeah, no, I remember that you were in the area there that the Belarusians were playing games with. Yeah. Scary. Very scary. Anyway, what else, guys? No more about the Mormons. Anything else? Oh, excuse me. La la la. Or we can wrap up if we need to. If there's we could always. Well, we haven't gone to Discord. We can go and hang on Discord. NATO's warning. I mean, it wasn't really NATO's. Well, the NATO not Supreme Allied Commander. What do you call him? The NATO Secretary General came out today and tried to kind of. Thank you, Carla. Tried to kind of clamp down the concerns about war with Russia, because there have been a lot of recent warnings from people in NATO warning that in the next 3, 5, 10, 20 years, there could be war with Russia. So, like I said, the Secretary General kind of came in today and was like, all right, trying to clamp things down a little. So, look, I think as far as I'm concerned, the danger of a war with Russia is as much of a danger, thank you, Super Hornet, as it was during the Cold War. That's where I think we are, and that's the risk today, where we are dealing once again with the Soviet Union. That's the problem. And just because we were in a Cold War with the Soviet Union didn't mean we were on the verge of nuclear war. It's a risk. And we're back to the same bad country and bad stuff that we were at before. And the Middle East Middle East has always been a mess, and it's back to being a bad mess again, of a lot of really bad actors, and the Iranians playing games and the Russians playing games, and now the Chinese are playing games, and ugh. So, no, I don't think we're at war. I don't think we're in danger of going to war, but we're back to where we were with the Soviet Union. That we are. So the question is whether people in our country recognize that, or they think we're going to be a bunch of isolationists while the world goes to hell around us. Does Putin believe his military advisors? I don't know. I mean, who knows? It depends what they're telling him, I suppose. I mean, they do say that some of them think that Putin wasn't, that they told Putin not to invade. And he was like, screw that. Because they told him not to invade in 2014 and he did it anyway. And, they won, basically, in 2014. So they thought this time around, Putin kind of thinks that he believes more than he believes he's better than his advisors, basically. Yeah, like what Callum said, too. There are a lot of reports that they don't tell Putin bad news, that they're afraid of angering him, so they just tell him the good stuff. But it also means that the military ends up lying. Like, a lot of what we found was the Russian military would fake their military exercises. They wanted the management to think they were doing well, so they would literally script their military exercises. In other words, thank you, James, for the gift on YouTube. Instead of doing a military exercise that was literally meant to be an exercise, practice, right? So you literally experience, like this latest one with NATO coming up. I think it's like 90,000 NATO troops or something. It's huge. And you're literally practicing coordinating them and everything. And, does it work? Doesn't it work? What are the problems? Instead of that, because that's the whole point of these exercises, is it's meant to be a practice, right? The Russians did it as a parade. So what they found was when the Russians would do these huge military exercises, they weren't actually exercises. They were scripted parades. So that they would, have this and the Air Force and the tanks and the this. And it would look like, oh my God, they coordinate so well together. No, it was a parade. They were each given a script and told what to do, and they simply followed their script. But if you're watching from the outside, it looked like, oh, they coordinated it so beautifully. So that was another example of basically they wanted it to be perfect for the bosses, so they didn't care about actually doing it as an actual exercise where the troops would get practice doing it the right way. They just they faked it. It's I was going to say fake. I'm not going to say anything more about fake because then TikTok will give me an 18 warning again. It's a mess. I mean, it's a mess. Oh, that's bad. Ooh, a commuter plane crashed near Canada. Oh, that's too bad. Although thank God, commuter plane isn't as big as the others. Yeah, let me do a quick recap of the news, and we can go to Discord for a little bit. We haven't done that in a while. And Discord, we've got the auctions anyway tomorrow, so it wouldn't hurt to bring some people over to take a look at the auction stuff before it goes. All right, I gave a little bit on the New Hampshire exit polls. Basically, we're waiting to see how well Nikki Haley does in New Hampshire tonight against Trump. If she's able to do well enough, it might at least keep her in the race. If Trump destroys her, she may be toast. And then Trump is the nominee, which is very scary. In terms of Ukraine, the Turkish parliament approved Sweden's accession to NATO today. Now we're pretty much waiting for Hungary. Hungary can't do anything till the end of February anyway because their legislature is out of session and the Hungarians are playing games, and it remains to be seen if NATO can slap them around. I'm not sure if NATO can because the Slovakians are going to defend the Hungarians now. The Ukrainian military is reporting that the Russian launched 41 missiles in the early hours overnight, 21 of which got through, killing 19 civilians across Ukraine, especially in the Kharkiv region. The Slovakian prime minister made some really obnoxious comments. He's very pro-Putin. The new Slovakian prime minister about how, basically that the war in Ukraine isn't even a war. It's a localized conflict. And how Kyiv, there's no war in Kyiv. It's totally normal, blah, blah, blah. Basically dismissing the whole thing. New York Times had a story about the Russians getting weapons from the North Koreans and how, although North Korean artillery shells seem to be really bad, they're still helping the Russians, but the real problem are missiles. And Russia has not gotten a ton of missiles yet from the North Koreans, but the fear is they're going to get a lot more. And the North Korean missiles are recently made, and they're very good and very effective. And that's the concern there. Russian seaborne exports of crude oil fell to their lowest level in 2 months. The CIA released a new video trying to urge Russian intelligence employees to defect. Russian regulators fined television providers and streaming services $566,000 for being too pro-LGBT. And finally, the Ukrainian film 20 Days in Mariupol received an Oscar nomination in the Best Documentary category. I still have to see it. I haven't. All right, let's go over to Discord. We'll hang there. If people want to talk election, we can, or we can just shoot the bull or whatever. It's discord.aravosis.com. It's John's after party. I will start setting it up right now so it goes live. Otherwise, thank you for joining us, guys. Thank you for your contributions. Thanks just for being here. Thank you, moderators, as well, for I was going to say for trolling. You were not trolling. You were trolling the trolls. Here, let me just, I'm like going to get this rolling as I talk to you. One event, create a new event. Thank you for the gifts there, Devin. What is this? John's after party. Here we go. Hang out. Hold on, I'm going to put a little note here. I'm hanging out. Join me. Oops, wrong computer. Out. Thank you. Who is that? Thank you, Irene. Out. Join me. Boom. Ooh, not 8 o'clock. It would be right now. 7 o'clock? 7 o'clock. Okay, 7:10. I said to pick 7:15. I'll just start it anyway. Create event. All right, let me start the event. I'm hanging out. Join me. Start. There we go. Okay. Excellent. Okay, just started it. I'm going to exit and come back. All right, guys, there we go. So yeah, go over to Discord. Join us over there if you would. We'll be it's a much more casual hanging out just by audio. Blue G's, if you want to do more, come over to Discord. Otherwise, we can talk tomorrow. I know I have to exit and come back, Callum, because if I don't exit and come back, people can't hear me. There we go. Now they can probably hear me. All right. I have to get off the other services because I don't know if it'll get screwed up that I'm on 2 different services at once. So thank you, guys. Have a good night, and I will see you all tomorrow, 6 o'clock Eastern time again. All right? All right.